Hello, everybody. Hello, everyone. My name is Leibella Ralston, and welcome back to another episode, to another live class. So, we are live streaming both on YouTube and on Facebook. Hello, everybody is watching us, is tuning live. Hello, everyone. This is a weekly class brought to you by Faber-Castell USA. My name is Leibella Ralston. I'm also known as Mommy Lay on the internet. Hello, everybody, and it's nice to be back. As usual, we're going to do things live from sketch to finish. However, I did share a template. It should be in the description of this video. So if you would like to print that, so you can trace it if you'd like. But we're going to do the sketch to finish anyways. But before that, we'll be talking about all of these supplies that we are going to need today. All right. Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. My name is Leibella Ralston, and welcome back to another class. Today is going to be full of autumn. Happy September. Oh, my God. Can you believe it? It's September, guys. I can't. I can't believe this. What is going on? Hey Sarah, you know what? I got your email. I do apologize. I just got super crazy busy. I've had so many things happening, from the long weekend. You know how that goes, right? From the long weekend, you're like so relaxed. And when you need to get back on a Tuesday, I feel like after Tuesday, after Monday, I don't know, my whole week was like off. So it was crazy. But Sarah, whatever supplies you have in there will work, darling. Hey Jess, how are you? I believe it should be in the description. We have like a download link. We have a Dropbox download link. But you know what? If you don't have it, it's okay because we're gonna go, we'll talk about all of the supplies and then we'll do the sketching anyways from start to finish. Hey, my friend Laquita, you've made it. Happy Wednesday. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's talk about all the supplies. Okay, so for today's class, we are going to be working with Faber-Castell's Goldfaber sketch markers. Goldfaber sketch markers are alcohol markers. They are dual-ended, so we have a brush tip on the other side, and then we have a fine tip, zero point 0.6. Most of the time, other brands of alcohol markers out there will have either a brush and a bullet nib or a chiseled in a bullet nib, so this one is a fine brush. I've never seen anything that has a fine brush like this. So this is really nice and handy to have. I mean, I really think so. You got it, Jess? All right, perfect, perfect. Okay, so and then of course we're gonna be working with marker. We're gonna need a Bristol Vellum Smooth. Actually, I'm using a marker pad, so this is a smoother version. The Bristol Smooth, it should be Bristol Smooth, not Vellum because the Bristol vellum has a little bit of a texture. It's almost like a very finer hot press watercolor paper, if that makes any sense. And then, of course, our usual pencil and eraser. I did, however, created a much cleaner sketch on another piece of paper, but I'd like to show you just, how to compose our little cute fox today. So for the whole month of September, I wanted to create the classes that I've created is all about almost like a very childlike type of illustration, almost like a children's book illustration style, right? So last week we created our fox using the Albrecht Dürer watercolor markers. So we created that and then we added some textures using the markers. Today we are going to um, use the sketch markers, the alcohol markers. So we're going to build some textures and it's just going to be different. Now we have an additional supplies that I have put in the description, which are pencils, colored pencils. So if you have the Goldfaber pencils, that would work. If you have the black edition pencils, that will work. What I have in front of me is my favorite polychromos pencils. But colored pencils are just great addition to um add textures. No matter if you're using a watercolor and then you add like colored pencils on top of it, immediately it changes the whole picture. It changed the whole vibe or the energy of your illustration, But you don't need it. You don't always need it. It's one of those things that it's a personal, it's a personal choice. Do you like it? Do you like the texture? If you don't, then stick to the sketch markers or the alcohol markers. That's fine. Okay, Sarah says she's using cardstock paper. Dear, whatever you have is going to work. Now, the problem with the cardstock is it would be very thick, so it might just kind of like drink up the alcohol ink, but it's okay. It's very similar. Cardstock is very similar, I think, personally. I'm not a paper snub. There's a lot of artists that are like, "Oh no, you got to go have this, the fibers and the paper." I'm not, especially for doing this as a hobby. It's just to have fun. I don't do that nitty gritty. I'm very careful with the paper. So cardstock will work. Just copy paper. Don't use copy paper. Copy paper is just, you're not going to have fun. Does that make sense? I still want you to enjoy the class and not make your art suffer, but we don't want to be too expensive and snobby about papers as well. Okay, so let's start. Okay, so for our fox, we're gonna build this drawing with a fox holding a mug, coffee mug, and drinking. It could be, think of it as a pumpkin spice latte. If you want a matcha green, latte, that's fine. I like coffee. I like my coffee. Or I like my sugar and cream with my little bit of coffee. So that's what my fox is gonna do. Now we're gonna make it really upright. So I'm gonna make just like this. So basically, I know where to position my head. So I'm gonna make a cross, right? I'm gonna go zoom in just a little bit so we can see. Again, I created a sketch already in my other piece of, sorry guys, my other piece of marker pad, but we want to go show you how you can quickly compose your fox because I think this is the most difficult. It's easy to have the template, because you can copy, you can trace it, but sometimes if you want to make an idea of your own, then I want to show you the basics of how you would do it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make an oval for the head of our fox. And I'm using a 4B pencil. Don't use a 4B pencil. I'm only using a 4B just because so you guys can see the sketch much better. So that's our first one. Of course, I didn't put it in the middle of my cross. Guys, what is happening here? We're just in the beginning, but I just wanted to show you that our fox is going to be upright. Okay, so we have that, and then we're going to draw a fake center again. So we're going to draw a center. There you go. Okay, and then I'm going to draw a two ear, so like a really sticking out, just kind of like that. Okay, and this is where I'm going to draw my nose. You can make your nose small, you can make it slightly bigger. That's one of the beauty of when making your own characters. You can make it your own, you can make it tiny, you can make it much bigger than a regular. And also remember that we're drawing a stylized, basically just a representation of the fox in our head. It's a cartoon character. Okay, so now that we have that, I'm going to draw an oval, a really, really stretched one. This is going to be our coffee cup. If you want, you can make it a little bit, you can place it a little lower than how I did it. And then we're going to draw two vertical lines, right? That's for our cup. And then curving line at the bottom, just like this. And then I'm going to draw diagonal lines, two. I made it pretty long. Don't make it too long, just like that. And then another one, the opposite side, like that. And I'm going to draw a curve, connect the two lines, just like this. Just like that. And I'm going to go draw the hand. So just simple curves, right? Made this thumb too big, but it's okay. Remember, you can make adjustments later on. We're just basically building the form and the full foundation. And then I'm going to draw um, almost like a slightly curving two lines. This would be for my sweater. just like that. Okay. And then from here, I'm going to draw like a puffy sweater. I wish I can wear puffy sweater here in Texas. It's too warm, guys. Too warm. So we're just going to draw that curving line. It's almost like a letter C, right? Or a belly of a B, just like this. And then from there, we're going to bring it down, just like that, almost connecting to that arm. And it is. We're going to connect it. But you want a slight little bit of gap between the two vertical lines that we've created earlier. There you go. And then now it looks like a cat, so we're going to change it to make it look more like a fox. So remember that center cross that I've created earlier. Now we're going from here, we're going to go bring this down, right? From the ear, just like that. And then we're going to go make this stick out just a little bit, just like that. And then bring it all the way down, just like that. Again, from that, we're going to go make it stick out just a little bit, just a little bump like this. And we're going to go bring it all the way down. All right. Now, if you want, this time it's perfect timing to just kind of like erase and clean up the sketches like that. Remember the inside of the coffee cup, you want to erase that because that would be in the background. The foreground would be the two hands holding your cup or your mug, right? So we want to clean it up just so we can have a better visual. I don't know about you guys, it helps me a lot when I can just like kind of visualize everything in my head. You know, I feel I feel good for the artists that kind of like they just sketch a dirty sketch and they just go, see it in their head all already automatically. I wish I could do that. I can't. Okay. So we have this now from the two sides that bumps, remember? So we're going to go bring it down a little bit and then we're going to go up. So almost like this, one down, and then we're going to bring it all the way up. So kind of like a mountain we're making, but we're going to connect it right to the nose. Okay. So if you want to go, if it's more comfortable to go from the hump or just go from the center of your nose. So basically, if you're going to go to the center, same thing. You're going to go down and then we're going to bring it all the way up, connect it to the side of the hump, right? And then from there, we're going to draw our eyes. I like a pretty much small eyes. It's me though. I just like it like that. Okay. And then our ears, from the point of the ears, we're going to make a slightly slanted line and just bring it down like that. And then from the same on the other side, just slightly curve it and bring it all the way down. Just like that. Oh, it's so cute. Okay, now see the sides of the hump of a puffy sweater. That's basically the width of his sweater as well. So just kind of like make sure you measure, almost like just eyeball it and just go that so you can see that, the width of that sweater. Just bring it down. Just add two diagonal lines on each side. And then we're going to have that lining of the sweater. This is the one that I like drawing, is that the lining, how it's kind of like adds that texture. And then we're going to add another one. So two curved lines. And then we're just going to have connect the two. And then that's it. So now we have a sweater. Erase it. And we're going to add our legs. So I like to start from the sides. Right? So slightly slanted. Right? Don't make it too straight. Make it slanted, but not too much, just slightly. I'm going to start with this. This one is not going to be too slanted. Just eyeball that thing. Just like that. Just like it. It's really nice to sketch with the 4B because the camera picks it up much, much better. But if I'm doing this for my art, ooh, it's going to be a mess. Okay, now for our boots, we want it to be, we're going to do our curve, right? You want it to be past the two lines, just slightly, slightly, just a little bit. It's like a wide smile, right? Just past that two lines. And then we're going to add two curves on each side, just like this, like that. So show the back of the boots as well, right? So we're showing that it wraps around the leg. And then again, we just bring it down, slightly slanted lines. And as you can see, when the more you do this, you're going to realize that you're using the same lines over and over, and you're like, this is not so hard. We're like, why was I giving myself a hard time? It's like two lines, curvy lines, a straight line, diagonal, curving. I know, right? Okay. But it's just almost like the one thing that you're going to practice more and more are proportion. That's the thing. But if you look at children's book, my gosh, their proportion is just all over the place. And it's so cute. Remember, we're talking about that imperfectly perfect? All right. Ah, gosh. Okay. So now we're going to draw the boots. It's going to go stick out just a little bit. When I say a little bit, this is one thing that I had to really teach myself and train myself because whenever I would make adjustments and drawings like that, I was always making like big changes. So when I say small change, really small, I know my friend. Okay. So let's just do small. Let's just bump it out just a little bit. Look how much tiny that is, right? Really, really small. Do it on other side, just like that. And then we're going to draw another curve, just kind of like what we did on top. So we're going to connect these two lines, just like that. So it's like connecting the dots. Once we have our framework, all we got to do is just connect it. There we have it. Now we're going to add here, just kind of like this. So almost the same curvy line, but the opposite way. We're doing it on top instead of the bottom. Look at this. We're almost done. Now we're going to add our tail. Well, not forget it. So imagine it's going to come from the bottom like this. So if you want to start from here or you want to start from here. So you pick. I'm going to start from the top, see how much this is. And we wanted to have like movement. This is what we did last week also, because that's the beauty of the fox drawings. When you see them, it's like this big fluffy tail, just kind of like there's movement with the tail. Since our fox is like really still and standing and just in a serene energy, now we want its tail to fluff a little bit and a little bit of movement, not entirely moving, but just almost like there's more to it. So I'm just going to curve it almost like a rainbow, and I'm not going to have enough um paper in here, but just kind of like bring it down, and then we're going to bring it up again like this, running out of paper. But, and then from here, just going to bring it down, just that side. And we're going to go connect it all the way up there. Just like that. That's one fluffy tail. Okay, so now we're going to do wave. Not really wave, but almost like a wave, just like this. Let it free flow, just like that. And then connect it to the other side, right? Okay. I'm actually going to use the powder color, I think, for the face of the fox. Okay. So now we have that. We almost have it. Let's just add a scarf. So I'm just adding a diagonal or slightly curving line in there. I'm going to bring it all the way to its body. And I'm going to do the same thing, but smaller and shorter. Just connect it there. And just like that. If you want to add like a pom-poms, at the bottom, feel free to do that. Now for the pumpkin, what we're going to do is we're going to start with the center. This is the easiest way to draw a pumpkin, I promise you. I've tried many, many different ways to do so, but this is the easiest way to teach how to draw a pumpkin. So we're going to start with the middle oval, like really stretched oval in the middle, in the center part, right? So we start with that, okay? And then we add one to the left, so it's like a letter C. So we're going to connect it like that. And then now we do the opposite on the right. Okay. Now we're going to add the stalk. So from the center, stalk in the center. So almost like a mountain, right? I'm making just like a mountain or a neck. It looks like a neck. It looks like a mountain, you know. So, and then we're going to go bring it up like this. And I want it to be skinnier on top and then just goes follow that whole shape in the center part of that pumpkin. Now from here, where this end, we're going to connect it and we're going to make another C. That and do the same thing where that neck ends or that mountain, we're going to connect it right there. And then, of course, we cannot because this would be in the background. So I'm just adding that in the bottom. And then I'm going to add one hump and another in the center. Then we have our pumpkin. Now you can make this one if you feel like maybe I can make this one a little wider, play around with that, adjust your sketches. You can add a face later on, add the kawaii face in there, just like this and all that. Okay, so that is our sketch to finish of our fox. And now we are going to ready to color. I'm gonna go grab my finished clean sketch, I should add, on this side. Here we have it. Honestly, I'm looking at my sketch here and my sketch there. I feel like I like this one better because this one is like, I don't know. I guess I like the position of my coffee cup here. I like it. Oh, don't forget to add another line, another curving line here in your coffee cup, like that. But I like how wide my fox in here. This one is like a skinny fox. But yeah, okay. Okay, for the colors, what are we going to use? So we're going to need like a beige color. So this one is powder color 303. And then for our fox itself, I'm going to use cadmium orange 111. Okay. And then I am going to use scarlet red 118 for my scarf. And for my puffy sweater, I'm going to use a earth green yellowish. Or, I don't know, maybe like the olive green yellowish. Maybe this is too bright, but green. Use a green, more fallish color. Don't do a super bright green because it's more, I think it's more spring, if that makes any sense. And then for the pumpkin, we can use the scarlet red, or we can blend the cadmium and scarlet red all together, or you can grab another color, a lighter orange or a deeper orange if you have any. Then I just pulled up my dark chrome yellow in here. For my pants, I'm going to use either you want to use like a darker blue, a jean color. I have the indanthrene blue, or you can use a gray tone, so a natural gray, and then this one is cold gray, very two different tones, but either one of those will work, okay? And then we can use the red, the scarlet red for the boots, or we can use a brown, so maybe a light burnt sienna for the boots. Um, but the burnt umber, we're going to need this one for the eyes and for the nose, just to add a little bit of details, and then for the stalk of our pumpkin as well. Great. So let's start to color. Don't forget to clean up your sketch, lighten your sketch. Especially, we're going to use a little bit of light color today, so make sure to lighten it because you're going to see those pencil marks underneath. That's for sure. But if you don't mind seeing them, I know a lot of my friends, artist friends, they really don't mind. They said it's an added texture. So we're just all different. Okay, now for the powder, for the light beige color that we're gonna need, we're gonna use it here on the other half for the bottom half of our fox and also for the inside of our ears. So I'm gonna color from top to bottom. I'm gonna start with my light beige color and we're just gonna start coloring the inside. Now the alcohol markers, the sketch markers, it's really, really fun to use because they are not like any other markers out there. um, if you are used to using any water-based, dye inks, those markers, they leave strokes. But when you're using alcohol markers, the way they get absorbed in the paper, it's just so much fun. Um, they don't leave too many strokes. I mean, it just depends on your application as well. But in my opinion, the way it blends and the way it gets absorbed in the paper really truly leaves me with this very smooth, almost like an animation style, right, of illustration. And that's why there's a lot of artists who really, really loves using alcohol markers because of this. They have this almost like a cartoon, the way when that marker and the ink, the way it dries and the way it gets absorbed and the way it settles on the paper. It's really, really fun. Alrighty. Now, the only thing that, I personally I'm not crazy over the alcohol markers is because I can't use it in my journals, because they bleed through, but they're so much fun to use. It's just that they bleed through. So it's very picky. Um, it's choosy when it comes to paper. Okay, so now I'm using our cadmium orange 111. And I'm just going to color in the outer part of our ear, of our fox's ear. Do the same thing on the other side, just like this. All right, like that. Now, since we're talking about how smooth it is, that is why this is where the pencils would come in, So because the pencils would be the one to bring in some textures. Because, like what I said, the alcohol markers, the way they settle onto the paper is very smooth. And if you want some textures, then you're going to need some help from the colored pencils. But again, if you don't want that texture, if that's not the type of art that you like, then you can totally skip the pencils. But if you are looking for some textures in your work, then pencil would be our best friend. I personally love adding colored pencils, no matter if I used a watercolor or, alcohol markers. I always gravitate towards using colored pencils just to bring in some textures, especially with our my favorite subjects are animals. So, it brings in the textures of the fur and all that. That's where it comes in. It's just so much fun. And then I am going to use the scarlet red for our scarf and the mittens and the boots. Okay, so we're doing it in layers. All right, so I'm trying to decide. So basically, this puffy part right here, let's pretend that that's a sweater instead of, pretend that it's part of our, what shall I call it? Part of our Dali, my goodness gracious naman. Scarf. You guys are not helping me. Part of our scarf. So we're gonna color it in red. Oh, and I forgot to mention if you have any white marker from Faber-Castell, or if you have any acrylic marker in there that's white, I'm gonna be using the creative marker, white as snow. If you have the shake and paint, those will be really nice to use as well. The shake and paint is really nice because it's really opaque. So, and it has two nibs as well. It has a 3 millimeter, a much thicker nib, and then it has a 1 millimeter nib. So it's perfect for adding details to your illustrations and your drawings. There we go. And then, for example, if you're having a hard time using the brush, remember, don't forget, that the Goldfaber sketch marker, it has a zero point 0.6 to get into those, much more smaller areas. Now, when I'm working with the alcohol markers, I treat it as like a watercolor. I work in layers. So I let this part right here dry, so I move on to the other areas. The good thing with them is that they dry fairly fast, but just depending on the paper that you're using. Some paper would hold a little bit of moisture more than the others. So drying time differs depending on the paper that you are using or the sketchbook that you are using, but they dry pretty fast, honestly. It's just that I don't want the two colors to blend. And then, of course, you do the opposite. If you want the colors to blend, then you work a little bit faster. So just, working that way and understanding my medium really does help me to plan my my plan of attack. I suppose that's what I call it, right? When I'm working in an illustration or a drawing. So understanding the medium really does help a lot. And how would you do that? By just using it a whole lot and practicing a whole lot. So look at this. Even if my initial line was a little bit wonky, but once I apply more ink in here, it would just kind of like blend together and it creates this very, very smooth finish like that, like that. Now, if you need to add a little bit of contrast, colored pencils will be your best friend also. And I forgot to mention that. Okay, so I'm going to go in with my burnt umber. This is like just a darker brown. And I feel like this area right here is still slightly damp. So I'm just going to do my nose first, and then we're going to do our eyes and our mouth last. Because almost like a watercolor, when if your surface is still slightly wet, what it's going to do is feather up a little bit. So you may not get as sharp and as detailed um, lines, if you go in and there while it's still wet. So just give it a bit some time. I know it's kind of weird without the eyes and the mouth, but instead of using alcohol markers, you can use your colored pencils also. That should give you a really detailed, and because it's not going to blend, it's not going to react in any way, shape, or form with your alcohol markers, right? So if I go in here with my pencil, there you go, then you get that details in there. Let's add it and see. Remember, when you're adding any type of details to your artwork, sharpen your colored pencils. Very important. Okay, so for our mittens, I forgot we're going to color that in red, but what are we going to color our cup, our mug? Yeah, we should color in our mug. Maybe brown, since I have like a light brown. This one is a light burnt sienna, so very warm brown. I'm going to use the smaller zero point 0.6 brush in here, just so I can be a bit more careful. See, and this is where it's really handy. Now that I've used brown, I cannot use this for my coffee. So maybe I'll do a matcha. Anybody else love matcha also? I love matcha latte. But if you do not like milk, then you're not going to like matcha. There you go. Oh, this is so handy. The zero point 0.6. Nice. Or we can make it orange for pumpkin spice. Definitely pumpkin spice. It just matches the whole thing. Now in this illustration right here, I added two pumpkins, one to the left and one to the right. If you notice here. Yeah, we'll definitely do a pumpkin spice latte. You know what? Let's give that a little bit of time to dry. Now I am gonna go in with sweater. So while that dries, we're gonna do a sweater first. So I'm gonna go in here. Just like that. I'm trying to decide if I want the sleeve and the bottom part of my sweater to be a different color than the rest of my sweater. I wonder if I have a lighter green that has this tone. This. I just love using the brush, especially with larger areas because you can just really swoop in there. I wonder if I have like a lighter green, maybe a gray. I don't know. Maybe a light, like a warm gray. If you guys have like a warm gray, this one is a warm gray 5. Then I have like this one is a natural gray. Let's try the warm gray. I just want to try it with two different tones just so we can have a little bit of separation of the green. Let's just go in there. Oop, might still be wet, so just give it a little bit of gap. Because remember, the ink slightly travels. It feathers. So it's like watercolor. Not as much as watercolor, but it does. So just give it some gap. But to me, the colors are so similar. The tones, especially the ones that I'm using, it's like I really don't mind if, it has a little bit of blending together. I'm going to go in here and really define the arm portion. But this is also where our pencils would come in later on because we can add details in here. And just like a watercolor, the alcohol markers also, they appear to look so vibrant, in the first layer while it's still very wet. And give it some time. It's actually going to lighten a little bit more. So don't be afraid. If you're like, oh my gosh, this is so darker than I thought, just give it some time because it's going to lighten as it dries. All right. I like this. Now we're just definitely going to need colored pencils to bring some details here. Or you can use like a black marker to do your line art if you would like. Like this. I don't know if I'm like completely happy with my gray tone, but we're gonna own it. Okay, and then I am gonna choose the neutral gray. Should I do the blue? I think I'm gonna go in with the blue, the indanthrene blue. So we have this like really nice dark tone of blue. Isn't this super nice? This is one of my favorite colors from Faber-Castell, and they have it almost in all of the lines of their art supplies. Indentarine blue. I love, love, love this. It has this cool tone to it, but it's just absolutely gorgeous. So I'm adding 2 layers while it's still slightly wet. Go in there. Ah! I went in and colored my boots. Oops. Oops. All right, second layer. Just like that. I like that. Like that. How about if I just use this one for the mittens? Or I just color it like orange, like it's its hand. I'm thinking, guys. I think I'm gonna color it cadmium orange, like it's just its hand. It's not wearing a mittens. Yeah, I'm going in for that. Remember, blue and orange really goes well together. That is one of my favorite color combinations. So if you don't use that often, this is your reminder and a sign to orange, blue, um, even aqua or a turquoise color. They go so well together. Mwah, chef's kiss. Beautiful. Okay, I'm happy with this. Cool with that. Since we use the red, the scarlet red also, definitely we can use the cadmium orange um for our pumpkins, right? Okay, so I'm gonna color in my tail first before I forget. Don't forget this part. All right, that part of the tail. And then remember we have that zigzag. This is going to be the beige color, also the powder color. So just be mindful of that one. So I'm gonna go in and do my zigzag first so that I can remember to be careful, right? Go in there. All right. Start here. Honestly, I'm surprised that I'm not smelling the alcohol marker. Because the alcohol marker, really, they do have this, of course, scent, you know. Doesn't matter which brand. Surprised that this one is not bothering me as much as some other brands. Because that smell is like sometimes just too strong, but surprisingly, this one is not bothering me. Huh, good job. Go in and add my second layer. Ah, it's so cool. Then let's add our second layer here. Now I'm just doing short strokes to fill this whole area right here. Short ones, just like that. Very nice, right? Because I'm like some other brands. Every time I would use them, it's like, oh wow, that's super strong. But this one, surprisingly, I'm surprised. Okay, so I guess I can use. I wish I have like another type of brown. What kind of brown? Ooh, I think this one will work. This is the terracotta for my coffee. See? It's perfect. Because it's not as light as the powder color. So I have a little bit of difference in tone. It's nice. And that's how I like my coffee anyway. So it's really perfect. Okay, I'm going to go in here. And this is the powder, right? Okay, good. Because it looked so um darker. I forgot. I was just talking about that. All right. We're gonna go in here. Just add in that. Ah, so cute. I will add another layer. Just go in here. All right. So, so, so nice. It's so cute. You did a gray sweater and gray pants. Oh, that's perfectly fine too, Sarah. Oh my gosh. Make sure to, are you on Instagram? Guys, if you are not on my Patreon, because on my Patreon there's a free and there's also a $5 one membership. So of course in the free you can get, updates from me and all that. I do have a new journaling challenge in there. It's available for everybody. So make sure to go on my Patreon. And I would love to see some of your artwork, also on Facebook. You can tag me on Facebook or on social media, of course. I'd love to see what you guys created with me today. So yeah, okay, I'm gonna use the cadmium orange for my pumpkins. I cannot wait for Halloween classes. We're gonna have some fun, spooky things. It's gonna be so fun next month. I love October. I just love autumn. If I know I keep talking about it, you're probably sick of it hearing me talk about how much I love autumn or fall. But I'm not. I love it so much. And now I'm just gonna live through my illustrations because we don't have that autumn here in Texas. Definitely not like how we had it in Arkansas. So I'm just gonna live through my art. I'm just gonna go paint it a lot, draw it a lot. I'm just gonna have fun with it. Okay. So right now we just have like a fallish autumn, and then we have Thanksgiving, and then next we have the holiday season if you're celebrating. If you don't celebrate, it's okay. We have like winter scenes as well. So I'm learning a whole lot about acrylic paints, and I'm really enjoying acrylic paints also. So that's something. And then have been really enjoying doing mixed media. So I did just upload a video yesterday of a mixed media project, one journaling project. So if you haven't watched it yet, make sure to check it out. It's fun. It might enable you to grab a few supplies because the way I did my project for our artful journaling project, it was really fun. Maybe it was a little bit of extra because it was just the prompt was like swatch your favorite colors, but I did a little extra there, but it was so fun. So make sure to please do check that out. Would love to go on this journaling journey with you because you know what? Like what I said in on Patreon, I have been doing journaling for a very long time. And I always find it like so, I don't know, chaotic at times, my type of journaling, because it has a mix of everything. It has artwork, it has drawings, it has writings, it has collages. So, and I didn't realize, and that it's actually a method, what I've been doing. So I did came up with this, it's called shell method. So a sketch and a doodle, a highlight, talk about your feelings, and then expressing yourself through colors, through drawings, or through writing, and then layering, collaging, and all that, and then making lists. So those are the things that I've been doing for forever. And I didn't realize that, oh my gosh, I actually do have a method. So I did share that on my Patreon. All right, guys, look at this. This is perfect already. If we want to stop here, we can. So, but I will not because I want to add a little bit of addition and line work here to bring in some details, especially of my sweater of the arms. So I'm pulling in a chrome oxide green, a deeper green. Again, if you don't have any colored pencils in there, use just a regular liner, a line. This one is the Pit Artist Pen. If you have like a super fine tip, use that. Just depends. If you want a bold tip, then use a 1.5. So it just depends on what you would like. So I'm just adding my details over here from our initial sketch. So I'm just bringing in all the details, just like that. Just to separate them, just to add that separation again. For some reason, I have stopped, not really stopped entirely, but I've changed completely. I used to love this bold marks using line art, so I would always use my Fudenosuke or the brush nib just to add in my line work. But now I love using colored pencils so much. And that's what I used to bring in line art. And it just kind of like blends all together so much nicer instead of like this big bold black line. And please don't get me wrong, because I love that style. I used to love that style and I still love it. But for some reason, lately I'm in my children's book illustration era and I've been really enjoying using colored pencils. It's really been my joy lately. Just adding my marker in here, and just we're going to add a little bit of contrast just to separate that one part of our scarf right there, right? We're going to go in here also. So I just basically use a very similar color, slightly darker than the original color that I used. So for my orange color, I'm going to use Sanguine. This is a really good, nice, um, deep, like a burnt orange. Using a black Pensera, good. Yeah, that works. I'm going to go in here like that. This one is not sharp, so I'm just being very careful. I'm lazy to sharpen it, but sharpen your, don't do what I do, do what I teach you. Then I'm gonna use like a darker beige for my powder. This one, probably a cinnamon color. I think this is the cinnamon. All right, just bring in the details there. Look at that. Then we can already start also adding like textures if you want, just details. See like the furry part of our fox. I'm just adding like dashes like that. Some tiny details over there in the ear area. We can do that as well here. And what the texture does is that it also directs the eyes of the viewer, to if there's a movement in your illustration or the direction of your illustration. So if you follow in the form or the shape, so that texture is kind of like it's drawing the eyes of your viewer. It's like follow this, So that's what it does. I'm going to add in my line. But see the charm that it just adds. If probably I'm using a black marker here, I would always use like broken lines to color in or to add my line art. That's another style that I have been enjoying lately if I'm going to be using like a black liner. There we go. I apologize. My doggies are acting crazy. Right? So we're going to add in that. And then we add one more. So just adding the original sketch that we've created earlier, I'm just kind of like drawing on top of that, just like that. You want to add in more contrast, feel free to do that. If you want to add in more textures for your pumpkins, do a little bit of blending if you'd like. But I feel like I really like how simple this is, but we're going to add some details to our sweater. But I'm just adding like lines in here just to bring in some contrast as well. So it's all good. All right, and then we're going to bring in more of that cinnamon color, and I'm just going to color in, adding some scumbling or just scribbles inside the ear, just added texture. It's like really imperfect lines and imperfect scribbles is what I'm adding in there. I love it. And I'll do the same thing here. As you can see, I'm not really trying to be careful at all with my lines and scribbles, right? There we go. All right, now to add in details to my sweater, we're going to add like textures and patterns inside. So we're going to start with dots, right? Just like that. And then I'm going to do a zigzag line, just like that. And then I'll do dots again. I like the this white marker from Faber-Castell because it's not as opaque as the acrylic marker. Sometimes the artwork calls for a really opaque ink, right? But this time I really want it to be soft, match the whole energy of the illustration. So I think this creative marker um, fits this type of illustration much better. But then again, like, art is subjective. So it's just maybe you like it popping and really opaque, then go for it if you have like an acrylic marker like that. But to me, I feel like this one is perfect. If you have the Pitt Artist Pen in white, that will work as well because that one is a water-based India ink. So it has this almost like translucent, it is opaque if it's layered, but really if it's like there's like slight translucency to the ink. So I love that. I love that so much. It almost like the way it settles and the way it blends into the paper. There's the beauty of that one, right? Love it. Now we're gonna go here on this side. Remember, this one is gonna be almost like go smaller as we go to this side. So just kind of like, I know sometimes it's really hard, and follow the movement of your arm, right? So it's kind of like of going sideways also when I'm doing that. So make sure to just tilt your paper and don't tilt yourself. Just tilt your paper. Sometimes I forget that I can move my paper around. So silly of me. All right. Just like that. So go small and like it. Right. Then I'll go in the middle. Start with a zigzag. I know this one is tedious because sometimes it can be too much, but this can also be a very relaxing part, just depends on how you want to see it. So just think of it as a very relaxing part and just enjoy it. I know a lot of people, my friend Laquita here, she loves adding patterns, the Zentangle. See, and that one is like tedious. But every single time I see her artwork, that she shares with me, it's just so beautiful. And I can only imagine how much details, adding those little tiny patterns. But it really does create such beautiful imagery. And I can imagine how difficult that is, but also relaxing at the very same time. Because I know I personally like fuzzy cutting, just kind of like cutting things small. And I know a lot of people dislike that. So we're just all very different. I'm going to add white detail in my nose area like that. That is so cute. Now you can make your pumpkins as whimsical as you like. If you want to add patterns in the pumpkins, feel free to do that. I mean, that's where this is where um your own touch, you should really never change it. If you like, for example, Laquita there, she likes adding pattern. I can imagine her adding patterns inside the pumpkins, um, and I'm trying to embrace that also lately because I'm enjoying the whimsical look. So as you know, as I'm evolving in the type of art that I am enjoying currently, I try to research, look at as many pictures as you can, and notice things. And oh, I love the way how she did this. I like the way, I like her choice of colors. And I think that's where inspiration would strike. Is that just go look at a whole lot of pictures in there, and then just decide, oh, this one looks good together. This one feels right to me. um, and patterns is something that I am I'm slowly getting there. I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there. So most of the time I'm just like adding imperfect dots, lines, So I'm gonna get into that swirls and all that, my friend. I'm gonna get there. But so far, every single time I would see like illustration with like a whimsical, finish in it's in that small details and that small patterns that was added. It's just so much work, but my gosh, do they look beautiful. Golly. All right, so here I'm just adding like a stripe pattern inside my scarf, and then I added like stripes also in there. And then we're going to add some lines that I added here, just kind of like how I did that, just to bring in the design all together. And I'm going to do the same with my indanthrine blue. I'll find a darker blue I can use. How about the dark indigo? Dark indigo would work. I want to bring in a little bit of texture on the inside just to add a little bit of contrast in here as well, just like this. Like that. And then if you want some scribbles, add more textures, just go light, almost like doing a gradation effect. So go light in your pressure. If you want like a really light value of that color, and then add a little bit of pressure to get more vibrancy, just like that. If you want to do the same, remember we added that little hump in our shoe or boot. So let's not forget to add that detail. Oh my goodness, this is so cute. Gonna grab just a little bit of lighter brown, add some contrast on both sides of my coffee, and I'm leaving the middle part lighter so there's a little bit of natural highlight in there. But this is it, guys. I feel like I'm done. I just want to add my 3 signature lines in there, but oh, this is so cute. I love it. I know something is missing, and I'm like, what is missing? What is missing? My kawaii face. What am I thinking? I need kawaii face. So I'm just gonna add kawaii face in my pumpkin. It's so cute. Like that. Oh, I don't think I'm gonna add blush to my fox today. I think we're good with this one. So cute. We're just gonna add a little bit of contrast here, like that. I'm gonna scan this one and share it with my Patreon members. So this one's gonna be so cute. We can turn this into a wallpaper. So darn cute. All right, you guys. How's everybody's Mr. Fox or Miss Fox, whichever you created today? I think this is a Mr. Fox here. What am I gonna call you? Oh my, so cute. Just a little bit more. Promise, I'm done. This is where that rendering part that we always talk about, the part where you add details and you feel like you can just keep adding forever. Go on and go on and go on. You just don't want to stop. But my goodness, look how cute this is. Thank you so much. But before we end everything, I just want to remind everybody that creating and practicing art, no matter what it is, when it comes to creativity, it is important to understand that it's never about the perfection. It is about your journey because it's a journey. It's like there's a beginning, and usually when it's the end, it's the end. So, but this is a long time journey, and I've been doing art for a very long time. From someone who didn't know how to draw, for me to create this absolutely adorable fox in here, it took me years of practice. But those years of practice is years of there was a little bit of, kind of like you want to give up because I'm like, I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere. I don't feel like I'm learning at all. I don't feel like, but no, my gosh, please don't give up. I am here. I'm here to teach you from sketch to finish. We're going to do this. We're going to create. We're going to learn together. I'll share with you everything that I have practiced through the years. You can always reach out to me on Instagram, on Patreon. Please, I would love to be a part of your journey. Thank you so much, my love. Thank you. Oh, it's okay. So this is recorded and this is weekly. So we will have our classes every Wednesday. And of course, speaking of that, I just want to give a very big shout out, and I hope you guys would too, to Faber-Castell USA. Thank you for making these live weekly classes possible. Thank you, Faber-Castell. Make sure to please do follow them on all over social media at Faber-Castell USA and give them some love, because without them, we won't have these live weekly classes. So thanks, Karen, so much. It turned out so cute, and I hope you guys enjoy the class. And please don't forget to check out the live tab because our future classes is already up and scheduled. Make sure to check out the description if we have any template that you can download for free, of course, and use for your personal use. Thank you, Angie. Thank you so much, everybody. I will see you again next week, same day, Wednesday, 5 o'clock Central Standard Time. Um, I'll be here. Please come join me again because it's more fun when you guys are here with me. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.